your own world. So it's like, how did you approach that whole situation, and how did you come across building the world that you ended up putting the glitch logs through?
Welcome to the Delos Diaries.
I really love world building. It's one of my favorite things to do as a writer. It's one of my favorite things to do as a tabletop player. Like just building worlds that people can enjoy just existing in is an incredible experience. One of the big rules for me of world building is that the world has to be a character in its own right. Right. So it has to have its own motivations. It has to have its own drives, its own vulnerabilities. All the things that you would put into a well-rounded character. So it's not just flashing neon lights and it's raining all the time.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it has to want something. This is maybe getting a little too high level, but I envisioned a world where so I like to joke that the AI takeover has already happened, but it happened in the form of really slow-moving corporations instead of lightning-fast computer programs. Right? Like you have these giant systems that are corporations, and their task is to extract value out of the world. Extract shareholder value, and so their every effort is directed towards that thing, which is the same problem you have whenever you get a computer program that tries to take over the world. That's inevitably myopically focused on one specific task in the absence of context, and that ends up destroying humanity because humanity is an incredibly contextual thing. Right? So you start with these giant behemoth corporations, and anytime you face any situation, you say, how is this situation attempting to extract value out of people? And then how are people responding to that? And how are our heroes faring against that? Which is great because it lets you put all kinds of details into the world that you don't necessarily have to think about ahead of time, right? If you open a janitor's closet, you can think to yourself, how is this intended to extract value? And are people paid enough to care? Yeah. And that, tells you pretty much a lot about the broom closet right then, right? Probably there's a lot of stuff in there, and it's probably fairly disorganized because, people are not paid enough to care, especially our hardworking, janitorial services. Okay, what does that look like? And then so every time you walk into a new space, into a new room, into a new setting, you can ask yourself, what's the character of the world doing in this scene? And you should immediately be able to feel it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's always interesting to me how different authors approach world building because, for me, it's like, okay, we start with a city and we build out a city. So how did you approach it, in terms of your setting and overall feel, look and feel of your world?
So at the very beginning, the first book actually takes place entirely inside of a cubicle office.
Okay.
And cyberspace. But I really narrowed down the scope and then asked myself at every moment, okay, what do we see in this corporate office space that tells us about the broader world outside? And then in the second book, we actually leave the building, we go outside, and there's things there's an abandoned underground metro system that still runs. It's called the Night Market, and it's just a market that slowly crawls around the city, in the underbelly. It's stuff like that. Yeah. Just because, it's fun, it's cool. If you're writing cyberpunk and you're not a little bit in love with how damn cool it is, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, what advice do you have for people who are interested in world building? It seems like you went